Welcome to this workshop. This is actually for this project, the second workshop we're having. The first one was in December 2024 when we were kicking off the project in this area. And have I lost? Okay. Oops, no idea what just happened. Okay. That's fine. Right. So I'm Vukosi Marivate. I'm the PI for this project, the African Languages Lab through the AI4D program. And I'm very happy to be here because this also puts us at another milestone. I don't know why that doesn't want to go away. Okay. Yeah. Yes, we're in the computer science department, and there's a number of collaborators that we work with who will be in and around the program today. Our big thing here is that we want to be able to look at the challenges of low resource languages to unlock then the potential of African language-based AI applications. We aim to improve tools in these spaces and then utilize the advancements for broader developmental applications. Person who's not here physically with us is Dr. Abidjan Dupe, who's the co-PI. We wrote the proposals together, and we do have working with African languages, with law, with Department of Mathematics and Applied Maths as well in this project. So today is just in terms of going through the program. So the QR code that you have on your name tag, you can scan that and you'll see the program. There's just a slight change in terms of the lunchtime. It was moved up by about an hour. So it will start at 12:30 instead of 1:30. That's just one announcement to have here. So for us, at the moment, we're looking at the first 18 months of our momentum. So yes, moving from an ambitious proposal to a high-impact interdisciplinary hub, acknowledging some of our technical milestones through our students and postdocs. And then we also want to bridge. All of you were invited here and online because of being part of this bigger network in trying to do the work that we do. And you can't do it without having partners and people that you collaborate with. So we want to move just beyond of saying, okay, we're looking at language as just this technical thing, but then also this ecosystem play that then really gets us to high impact in these areas. We also want to make sure we're culturally grounded. A lot of this area, and I'll towards my closing reflections at the end of the day, I'll talk a little bit about this of to really make the changes that we need. It'll require us to think very differently going into the future. Now, and this then is connected to scale, right? How are we actually going to move things forward? And to bridge these last miles, there's one thing that we might be creating some of the fundamental kind of representations, but then there's another thing that somebody's actually using these systems out in the wild and they don't necessarily need you to be there to handhold them, right? So we want to go from successful research prototypes to robust institutional grade systems that serve the public good. Finally, this is also a place for us to commit, all right? This then, sorry, let me just check. Nobody's, okay, yeah. Committing that, partners around then this North Star that we're aiming for of unlocking language for everybody, right? And then also turning data scarcity actually into a national asset. And this is not an easy job, but then I think it's worth doing. Okay. Right. So I did say we have African languages, computer science, law, mathematics, and applied maths just as kind of the core collaborating partners, but then we do work across also the university and different other spaces as well in this area. Okay, there have been many parts of this, just to give an overview. One is capacity building. We have students, you'll see on the program, some student short rapid presentations. We have postdocs. We have meetings across the country and the continent in this area, and then there's work that is coming out. The other thing that is very interesting about this lab is that it become a foundational part of providing then that human capital, that data that goes into many, many other projects. So there was a project on, for example, code switching that was running through the lab. On one side might be being that on one side it's funded by somebody like JP Morgan AI, but then because it connects to this lab, it then gets amplified. We had another project of collecting 3,000 hours of speech data that, again, because you have this lab and it's got these capabilities inside, again, it acts as an amplifier, like a force multiplier, to make sure that even when there's new data that becomes available, then there's capability then to build on other things that are going on. And now these are being used. I think Tapelo will present later, for example, where you take so the work that's going on in the ASR and the speech recognition, and then you're using it as part of now the South African Sign Language work, right? So doing that creates these new opportunities going into the future. We are working with, in terms of the African Languages Department, for example, in thinking about new data set development, understanding also linguistics and the history within the country, and then developing work on like translated scientific content with Dr. Bukaba and Dr. Chidi, playbooks in thinking about how do we work better with communities, and like, it keeps on kind of going in this area. One of the partnerships that was great was the Sadila, and we're hoping that we will expand these on look at training for Wikipedia editing in local language or indigenous languages. So I would not say indigenous languages in these spaces, and that again further continues unlocking other work. I think today we got a little bit of a note also from Common Crawl. So these are the guys that create this huge data set of crawling all of the internet. And last year there was then another project to say, hey, how do we then work to come up with almost an audit of, again, indigenous language websites that are out there, and then being able to better crawl, because it's an opinionated crawl. They don't crawl everything. And as such, I think now there's been an increase in the amount of African language based content inside Common Crawl. And I think they've sent us like something where it's like almost 3 gigs of new data that they didn't have before in these spaces. So we're hoping that keeps on unlocking more and more opportunity in these spaces. On the policy side, myself, I've been connected last year with the G20 AI working group through collaborating with Prof. Okori, who will lead the next panel. For example, now looking at things like licensing, and that work has another AI4D project, which is the IP and AI project that is running and that was launched last month here at the University of Pretoria. But that continues making that impact of how do we think then about where IP protection, IP enablement also becomes one of the ways that we actually unlock our languages. Overview of today, we'll go through, these were my opening remarks. I'm just trying to get us back on time. We're going to go through a panel. The first panel, just to really kick us off and get us into the right headspace. In the midday, there will be some rep representations, a plenary session after that, an interactive panel, and then in the afternoon, I hope to have a reflection on the day that we can all kind of partake in, and we can get some feedback from people. And then the feedback is not for us as a lab or people at the University of Pretoria. I would like us to reflect on our multi-sectoral or transdisciplinary way of thinking about these spaces, and then it'll really be an important piece of how we go forward. So I think with that, there is a video I'll play later on from Dr. Mudupe, but then I just wanted us to kick off, and we will then start off with our first panel. And okay, yes, thank you.